investigation that Sheriff Nienhuis would like to brief you about today. Sheriff Nienhuis?
Good morning, everybody. For the record, I'm Sheriff Alan Nienhuis. It's spelled N-I-E-N-H-U-I-S. I'm the Sheriff of Hernando County. And thank you all for coming. Obviously, this is a very serious subject we have to talk about today. And to give you a little background, about a week ago, October 3rd, as a matter of fact, on Friday, local authorities received some information that a Springstead High School teacher and a student may be involved in inappropriate sexual relationship. The teacher was Mr. Todd Toomer. He's 40 years old, and he's the graphic design teacher at Springstead High School. Initially, both the suspect and the victim were interviewed, and both denied the allegations. Over the next few days, though, my detectives worked very hard and found some information that led them to believe, because obviously their goal was to either prove the allegations or find that they were totally unfounded. And during the investigation, they did find some information that led them to believe that there might be some legitimacy to the original allegations. About that same time, I guess it was about midweek last week, the victim came forward and verified that there was an inappropriate relationship between her and Mr. Toomer. As the investigation continued, and with the victim's help, we even got additional information that led us to believe that the allegations, unfortunately, were true. And last night, Mr. Toomer agreed to come in to the sheriff's office and be interviewed. And during that interview, he admitted to the inappropriate relationship. And working very, very closely with Brad King in the state attorney's office and the attorneys there, we ended up arresting Mr. Toomer late last night or early this morning on three counts of sexual battery on a person between 12 and 18 years of age by someone with custodial authority, in this case, a teacher. The bond is $10,000 on each count for a total of $30,000, and all three counts are first-degree felonies, punishable by up to 30 years in prison. A little tiny bit, I do have the public information officer from the school system here, Mr. Eric Williams, who will be talking to you in a little bit, but Mr. Toomer has been associated with the school system since 1997. As a substitute teacher, I'm told, and he went full-time in 1999. Our teachers have authority over some of our most vulnerable citizens, namely our children. And with that authority comes an awful lot of responsibility to do the right thing. And when they violate that responsibility, and as the father of three daughters, we have to hold those people accountable, and we have to ensure justice is served. And I got to tell you, my detectives worked very tirelessly over the last week to bring this to a successful conclusion. And of course, unfortunately, the work is not over. And I'll get into that in a minute. But I also want to say that the school system has been more than cooperative, and I have talked with officials there, including the superintendent, and everybody is appalled at this. And we have no other information at this time that any other adult was involved or that any other adult had knowledge of what was going on, and that includes the other employees at the school. The victim in this case, this young lady is very courageous. It had to take a lot for her to come forward and admit what happened. Unfortunately, we have good reason to believe that there are additional victims out there. And I would like to ask them if they would have the same courage as this victim and come forward, either to the sheriff's office or to the school system, so we can continue our investigation and make sure that this particular individual receives justice, both the victims and society. And one of the biggest reasons I want to do this is not just to make sure the victims get justice, but I want to make sure that anybody who is contemplating becoming a predator on our young people understands that they are probably going to spend the rest of their life in jail. And the state legislature, ironically enough, finds this to be very serious, and as of October 1st, they changed this from a first-degree felony to a life felony. We believe that these actions occurred before October 1st, but as far as parents, I want to send a message to parents. It's critical that you maintain and understand the whereabouts of your children and monitor their electronic messages so that you can make sure that they're not involved in something similar. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Department of Children and Families and the State's Attorney's Office, the Hernando County School System, and last and certainly not least, my detectives. They did an outstanding job, and everybody worked very, very well in a very short period of time to bring this to conclusion. Now, again, I have 3 daughters, and I can't even begin to tell you how much this gets under my skin. But I'm happy to report that my detectives did a great job, and I think we have a very good case against Mr. Toomer. And as I said, if there are additional victims, we'll work tirelessly to make sure that they get justice also. So I'll go ahead and answer a couple questions, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Williams to speak from the school board's perspective.
How old is the victim?
I understand the victim's doing well. You know, all things considered.
How old?
I don't want to give too much information, but I can tell you she was a student at the high school. She was one of the older students there, but she was definitely a juvenile.
How did this relationship start?
They both denied any type of relationship. What led you to further investigate?
Well, obviously, we're not going to drop it at that. We're going to look into it because these are very sensitive issues, and oftentimes the victim, for a lot of different reasons, is uncooperative because they're scared or because of the control that the person has over them or whatever reason. So we don't just take them at their word. We look into it a little further. Unfortunately, we were able to get a little information that led us to believe that there was some legitimacy to this.
How did the relationship start?
That I'm not aware of. Again, this has all been unfolding very, very quickly, and I'm not sure exactly how it was. Obviously, she was a student and he was a teacher, but I don't know exactly how it started.
Had they been communicating, text messaging, phone calls, anything like that?
They were definitely communicating with each other.
Off school property and.
Well, the actual relationship did occur on school property. The inappropriate interaction, the sexual interaction, did occur on school property. On school property,
yes. When he was on duty?
I'm not sure exactly whether it was during school hours or shortly after school, but it was definitely on school property.
Did you say you have other possible victims? You're looking for other victims?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that's recent, or victims that stretch back throughout his time there?
We have reason to believe that both. So anybody who might be a victim of Mr. Toomer, we'd like them to come forward.
Could any of those students be from other schools?
I'm sorry?
Any of those students be from other schools?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't. Again, this is unfolding very, very quickly, and I don't have a whole lot of information, and that's why we're getting it out to the public and to parents and to former students to let them know that they have somebody who's willing to listen to them and take action. So.
What's his background look like? Does he have any other?
I'll let the school system, Mr. Williams, answer that. So any other questions for me from the Sheriff's Office perspective?
Was this a single incident that happened on school grounds, or have there been multiple accounts?
I think there's been more than one, if I remember correctly, with this particular victim.
Was it
on school grounds?
I'm sorry?
Was it a fellow student who blew the whistle here?
I don't know, and I'm not at liberty to say, even if I can.
You don't know?
I don't know the specifics. I wasn't briefed on that, but we're not at liberty to say. So, but it was brought to the attention of authorities about a week ago, and I believe the inappropriate contact happened at the end of September. So this particular situation is all relatively recent.
Why do you guys believe there's more victims involved?
We have information to believe there's more victims. I don't know if my detectives are ready to release that information, but I'm relatively confident that there are more victims. To what degree they were victims and what actually occurred, we don't know yet, and that's why we need them to come forward.
Why do these people think they can get away with it?
That is a very good question. It is, obviously society takes it seriously, the sheriff's office takes it seriously, the school board, the state attorney's office has been right there by our side in the middle of the night working this. So, you know, I want to send a clear message to anybody who's contemplating this that it is not going to be tolerated in Hernando County or in the state of Florida, in the United States for that matter.
You said they both denied it?
Initially.
Do you know if he encouraged her to lie about this?
I would say that's probably a good assumption.
Was she one of his students?
That I'm not 100%. I assume she was, or she may have been involved in some extracurricular activities that he was in charge of. I don't know the details. I can't remember specifically. I've been briefed on that, but I don't remember the specifics about it. I don't know if she was actually a student that was in one of his classes, or if this was some sort of club or something after hours. All right. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Williams. I'm sure he'll be able to answer a couple of your questions.
Do you know anything about his personal life? Is he married? Does he have children?
That I'm not sure of. I assume he has a family, but I don't know the details. All right. So, Mr. Williams?
Good morning. My name is Eric Williams with a C. I'm a public information officer for Hernando County Schools. We'd also like to start by thanking the Sheriff's Department for their hard work and the speed of bringing some resolution as part of this investigation. We can confirm that Mr. Toomer was a graphic arts teacher at Springstead High School and has served in that capacity since 1999. Prior to that, he worked 2 years as a substitute. When we first found out about the complaint being filed with the Sheriff's Office, Mr. Toomer was taken off student contact on Wednesday this week, the 8th. When we knew a little bit more information, he was suspended with pay pending the outcome of the investigation. We've been in contact with our board members and the superintendent this morning, and I guess it's we can say that they're all upset about this incident, and you know, certainly appalled that one of our teachers could do something so reprehensible as part of their service. But I think we all agree that this is not a reflection on the quality of our schools and our school system here in Hernando County, or of our many fine professional educators that we have here. In the coming days, and I'm sure a lot this weekend, we'll be working together with the Student Services Department to plan supports for the students and families who are obviously going to be impacted as a result of this case coming to light, and you know, putting some things in place so that we can answer questions for those stakeholders that we have at Springstead High School. And I'll take your questions.
Can you answer that background question, this gentleman, this teacher?
Repeat the
Did
question.
he ever have a case like this on his background?
No, I looked at his personnel file this morning, and there's nothing in his personnel file that indicates there's ever been an incident prior that is anything similar to what we're talking about today.
Is there a solution here? This is not the first time that the news has covered a story like this. Cameras in schools to keep a closer eye on teachers? Is there anything that the school board or you guys from a school perspective?
Well, you know, going to the point that the sheriff made about inappropriate contact with students after school hours, or using texting or social media or email, that's something that we're working on with procedures to really you know, train our teachers to know that that's not appropriate, and that we want to funnel those communications through official channels.
Is there an official channel?
We're putting those things in place now, yes. But we do have district email, which it's appropriate to contact students via our official district email accounts, and parents as well. And we're getting social media accounts up and running now so that we can use those official channels to contact our stakeholders about events and activities that we have going on in our schools.
Can you answer if she was one of his students or involved in
No, I cannot. I don't know that to be true.
Just back to that social media thing, so you're saying have a school monitor social media instead of just personal teacher?
Correct. Official, you know, school-based social media accounts, or you know, for the district as well, having something that's official for us. Other questions?
You said there was nothing that indicates this sort of behavior in his personnel file. Is there anything else that he was ever written up for?
Nothing that I can comment on at this time.
Nothing that you can, so there is something or there is not something? Yes or no?
There was one other concern as part of his personnel file, but it's not in any way related to what we're talking about today.
Was it?
Does not involve any
with
sort of
behavior with a
sexual
student?
misconduct with
Was it
minors.
behavior with a student? Misbehavior with a student?
No, sir.
It was not.
Yes, it was not.
Okay.
Is that
What
it?
about these students now? If, say others do come forward, you know, I'm sure that this person is going to have a hard time going back to school, concentrating. Is there anything in place to help the students get through this school-wise?
Well, yeah, certainly we have a care team program that's organized by the school services department, and we, you know, anytime that we deal with a tragic situation, a death of a student or an incident at school that affects more than just one student, we bring that care team in. It typically consists of our guidance counselors and staff, social workers from other schools coming together as a team to serve a school in need. So that's going to be part of the plan that we implement probably Monday morning at Springstead High School to help the students and families who are affected by this cope with what's happened.
And is there any announcement to kids, heads up, this is going on? I mean, is there communication with the kids on what's happening?
No, but we will be communicating with all of our administrative staff at all of our schools in case they get questions, and then we'll rely on our principals and assistant principals at the school sites to communicate that information to parents and students as appropriate.
Would a robocall go out for something like this? I've seen that in the past where all parents are notified like that.
No, we're not going to send out a robocall. Or a Global Connect is what we use.
Is there going to be a note put in kids' backpacks? Anything like that?
Like mailing or anything?
To inform parents?
No, not to all students. Maybe, you know, the details as part of the plan on how we're going to deal with this at Springstead High School are forthcoming. We don't have that information at this time, but I don't think that we're going to notify all parents in all of our schools and all students via a Global Connect or robocall or backpack flyers or anything like that at this time. It'll be primarily concentrated our efforts at Springstead High School itself.
Do you think those parents at that high school are entitled to some kind of information
Certainly.
directly from you?
Certainly, we're going to provide them with all the information that we can.
Has any incident similar to this happened in the past within the district?
Yeah, I've only served as public information officer since July 1st. I am aware of some incidents that have occurred in the past that are inappropriate and involve sexual misconduct with minors, but I can't comment on the details as part of those cases at this time. It's not something that happens a lot, especially in Hernando County schools. We have great schools. We have great professional educators who are here to serve students. But you know, there are those isolated incidents that happen out there, and we're certainly taken aback by it, and we appreciate the support of the Sheriff's Office in bringing this to a head.
Had he ever been honored by the district for good teaching or pointed out as being a good employee or anything like that? What was his reputation, I guess is what I'm asking.
Not that I know, not that I'm aware of.
Do you know what his reputation was as a teacher?
I can't comment on that because I don't know.
Was he involved in any school-sponsored activities?
Yes, he was a coach at one time. He's currently not serving as a coach. Various sports, I think basketball and football as an assistant. He also organized the Haunted High, which is a haunted house that was pretty popular at Springstead, especially this time of year, and he was the person who put that program together.
Was it girls basketball? You said basketball.
I believe that there is some experience in this past coaching girls basketball, yes, sir.
So both? Boys and girls basketball?
Yes. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank each of you for coming out and covering this very somber story. I do want to assure the public in Hernando County that your school system, your state attorney's office, and your sheriff's office, I know the school board members, I know each of them personally, and I know that they are very supportive of our efforts to find these type of people and root them out in the unusual circumstance that we have now. And I can assure the public as well as parents that we're going to do everything in our power to protect their children. And we need their help. help them, you know, I know you all ask questions about it, but monitoring their electronic messages is critically important because these predators find unique ways to get around the system. So we need parents to help us monitor that. We need to all work together on this. So thank you all for coming out. And if any of you all have any follow-up questions or anything, my public information officer, Denise Maloney, will be happy to assist you. I think she has some stuff, some arrest affidavits and so forth.
Do you know when he'll be personally formally fired?
I think that will come at the end of the investigation.
Okay. All right, thank you all very much.
We'll probably seek a resignation prior.
Seek a resignation.